In 1861, America was on the brink of collapse. The nation was divided, a house against itself, North versus South, freedom versus slavery. And at the center of this gathering storm stood one man, Abraham Lincoln. A humble lawyer from the prairies of Illinois, he would rise to lead the United States through its darkest and most defining hour, the Civil War. His story is not just about a war. It's about the very soul of a nation and the leader who refused to let it die. This is the story of Lincoln and the war that changed America forever. By the mid-1800s, the United States was a nation of stark contrasts. In the North, industry was booming, cities were growing, and a powerful abolitionist movement was calling for an end to slavery. In the South, the economy was built on the backs of millions of enslaved people, a system defended as a way of life. The issue of slavery wasn't just a moral debate. It was an economic engine and a political powder keg. For decades, compromises had been made, lines had been drawn, and tensions had simmered just below the surface. But the election of Abraham Lincoln as president in 1860 was the spark that ignited the flame. Lincoln, a member of the new anti-slavery Republican Party, was seen by the South as a direct threat to their institutions. Before he even took office, South Carolina seceded from the Union. 10 other states soon followed, forming the Confederate States of America. The stage was set. The first shots fired at Fort Sumter in April 1861 were not just the beginning of a battle, but the start of a brutal 4-year conflict that would tear families apart and stain the American soil with the blood of its own citizens. The war that many thought would be over in a few months would become the nation's greatest trial. Abraham Lincoln entered the presidency facing a crisis unlike any his predecessors had known. The Union was dissolving before his eyes, and he bore the immense weight of holding it together. He was criticized from all sides. Abolitionists thought he was too slow to act on slavery. Conservatives thought he was too radical, and many of his own generals questioned his military judgment. Newspapers mocked his folksy demeanor and his supposed lack of experience. Yet beneath his unassuming exterior was a will of iron and a profound sense of purpose. Lincoln's core belief was simple and unshakable: the Union must be preserved. He argued that secession was not only illegal, but a betrayal of the democratic principles upon which the nation was founded. If a minority could break away every time they lost an election, democracy itself would fail. He navigated the treacherous political landscape with patience and shrewdness, often using humor and storytelling to disarm his opponents and rally support. He wrote countless letters, held endless meetings, and spent sleepless nights poring over maps and strategies. Through the early defeats and the darkest moments of the war, when the cause seemed all but lost, Lincoln's calm wisdom and moral clarity were the anchor that kept the ship of state from sinking. He was not just a commander-in-chief. He was the nation's conscience, reminding everyone what they were fighting for. As the war raged on, its purpose began to shift. Initially, the primary goal for the North was to preserve the Union, but Abraham Lincoln understood that the issue of slavery was at the heart of the conflict and could no longer be ignored. He knew that to truly win the war, the Union had to fight for a higher moral cause. After the strategic Union victory at the Battle of Antietam, Lincoln seized the moment. On January 1, 1863, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This executive order declared that all enslaved people in the rebellious Confederate States shall be thenceforward, and forever free. It was a monumental, game-changing act. The proclamation transformed the Civil War from a political struggle into a revolutionary fight for human liberty. It opened the door for nearly 200,000 African American men to enlist in the Union Army, fighting bravely for their own freedom. For enslaved people across the South, news of the proclamation spread like wildfire, a beacon of hope in the darkness. While it didn't free every slave overnight, its impact was profound. The war now had a new, powerful meaning. Freedom was no longer just a distant ideal. It was America's new purpose, written in the ink of the President's pen and soon to be consecrated in blood on the battlefields. Freedom, however, came at a staggering cost. The Civil War was the deadliest conflict in American history. Over 600,000 soldiers perished from combat, disease, and starvation. The fields of Shiloh, Antietam, and Fredericksburg were turned into landscapes of unimaginable horror. Families were torn apart, with brothers literally fighting brothers on opposing sides. The nation was bleeding, and the grief was immeasurable. In November 1863, Lincoln traveled to the small town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, the site of a pivotal and incredibly bloody Union victory just months earlier. He was there to help dedicate a cemetery for the fallen soldiers. Amidst the thousands of fresh graves, Lincoln delivered what would become one of the most famous speeches in history. In just 272 words, he gave meaning to the immense sacrifice. He spoke of a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and he called for the nation to ensure that the dead had not died in vain. He urged the living to rededicate themselves to the cause of freedom and to strive for a new birth of freedom. The Gettysburg Address reframed the war's purpose, elevating it from a struggle for union to a fight for the very survival of democracy and equality. The Union would endure, but it would be a union forever marked by the terrible, yet noble, cost of freedom. In April 1865, after 4 long years of conflict, Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Union General Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. The war was over. The Union was saved. A wave of relief and celebration swept across the North. Abraham Lincoln's steadfast leadership had guided the nation through its trial by fire. He now faced the monumental task of healing a wounded country and bringing the South back into the Union with malice toward none, with charity for all. But he would not get the chance to see his vision for Reconstruction realized. Just 5 days after the surrender, on the evening of Good Friday, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated while attending a play at Ford's Theater. The nation was plunged into mourning. The leader who had saved the country was gone. Yet his legacy was already immortal. Lincoln's dream of a unified, more just America lived on. He had not only preserved the Union, but he had also redefined it. He transformed the nation's understanding of itself, placing the principles of equality and liberty from the Declaration of Independence at the very heart of the American identity. Today, the Lincoln Memorial stands as a powerful symbol of his enduring impact, a testament to the man who led America to a new birth of freedom. Abraham Lincoln's courage in the face of profound division changed the course of American history and indeed the world. He led not as a conqueror but as a healer, a unifier who believed in the better angels of our nature. His story is a timeless reminder that even in the darkest of times, when a nation is at war with itself, principles, perseverance, and a commitment to a greater good can prevail. He showed us that true leadership is about bringing people together, not tearing them apart. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through a pivotal moment in history. If you found this story inspiring, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more content that explores the people and events that shaped our world. We'll see you next time.